Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I just finished watching a Netflix series called Adolescence. It's a four-part series, and I've had some less than excited things to say about some of the recent crime type of stuff that's on fictionalized or documentary on Netflix. And I will say this is the best thing I've seen this year. And it's the feelings about this are split. Some people think it's fabulous, other people think it's just terrible because nothing happens. Well, let me give you a basics on this and why I really think it really, I couldn't, I was just so enthralled by it. It's a four-part series, and each one of the four parts is filmed with just one camera straight through. It's phenomenal. So as far as videography goes, it's unbelievable. I don't even know how the heck they managed that. Secondly, I want to say the acting is great. The 13-year-old boy who plays the boy who is accused of stabbing his schoolmate to death, a female schoolmate, is remarkable. And I also loved his dad, and he's a well-known actor. So but he's unbelievable. But everybody's very good. Let me tell you what the four parts are and why I liked it. I'm not going to give away any secrets by telling you that he stabbed a girl to death, because in the very first episode, it's pretty clear he's guilty. Okay, so he says he's not guilty through most of the show, but still, it's very obvious he is guilty. So I'm not giving away any big spoilers here, because the point of watching it isn't about guilt. It's about what the heck happened. Why did a 13-year-old boy stab his classmate to death? And it's the way it's done is it's really it makes you think. It really does. So let me tell you the first part. I'd have to mention this next. The victim is completely ignored in this whole series, which is incredibly offensive to victims everywhere and to families of victims. And in some ways, they also blame the victim, that her behaviors are quite well responsible for what happened. So you can get really, really angry about that, because normally I would, but I think they did it on purpose. In the very first segment, the female cop says, everybody's focused on him, and the victim is going to be forgotten overnight, and he's the only one anybody's ever going to remember. And she's correct about that. So outside of, you see where she was stabbed is a whole bunch of flowers. And she's got one friend in the film who's super angry because she thinks nobody really cares. And she's right. She's just furious because the rest of the classmates are like, oh, she got stabbed. Like Lord of the Flies over there at the school. And it's horrifying. And this one girl is just so angry, as she should be, because no one really, she doesn't think anybody really cares about her friend. And you don't see much about the parents of the victim. Nothing. It's all about him. And I think it's done on purpose. And when you're watching this, you're going to feel depressed, angry, upset, confused. All of those things come to play if you actually watch this through. And even as a profiler who's been around homicides for 2 decades and has dealt with both the perpetrators and the families of murder victims, even these thoughts just go through your head and kind of turn your stomach, and you're like, what in the world? Why? So anyway, the first episode is all about his arrest. The police are smashing into the house of the parents, and they're all like, what the heck? Taking away their son, their 13-year-old son. They don't know what's going on. Dad goes to the station with the son, and he can't believe it. I mean, he just cannot believe this could be true. His 13-year-old boy, he never saw it coming, and he really didn't see it coming. And he can't believe his son did that, and his son told him he didn't do it. But then Dad watches the video, which kind of shows his son, So now he's horrified because His son's telling him it's not true, but he knows it is true. And you see the process this boy is going through as he's being booked in, getting DNA taken, blood, all this stuff being done, and the father going through all this with his son. You see both the father's horror, the son looking confused and not knowing why this is happening to him either. Although you just don't know whether this kid is somehow not guilty, although it obviously is, whether he had some reason for doing it that you can accept, or there's just a psychopath. And not everything is wrapped up in a little bow by the end of the series, so don't expect that. So the whole first thing is about just being the whole booking in process of him, and it's kind of grueling. Now the second part is the police going to the school and trying to talk to the students. They're trying to find the knife that was used. They're trying to find anybody who knows anything. And when I said Lord of the Flies, I meant it. If you remember that book, Lord of the Flies, these boys are stuck on this island with no adults, and they turn into little savages because they don't have adults helping them. Well, what's so horrifying, in my opinion, when I was watching the school, was that the reason this stuff is happening, why our children in school, they don't have to go to a little island. They're in school, they're turning into little savages because we don't have any discipline. The teachers and the administration are wusses. They don't manage things properly. They let everything get away with it. The kids get away with things. The parents are useless as well. They're not helping out. And the social media stuff is out of control, both in the schools and at home. And so these kids who do not know, they're in adolescence, they don't have enough brains to do the right things, and nobody is helping them do the right things. It is horrible, and they're laughing inappropriately, and they're not helpful, and they're jerks. And I mean, it's just, you watch this and you just want to strangle all the little children in the classroom that are all teenagers. And you see the police trying to talk to them, and they're like, there's two police officers, a male and a female, and you can just see them struggling, trying to stand being there. And then the male police officer, his own son is in the classroom, and it looks like his son even gets bullied, and because his father's a police, and then his son, tries to talk with his son afterwards, and you can see he's got the same problems with his own son. He's having trouble even relating to his son because the world of these teenagers in this schooling situation and what's happening on social media is separating kids from parents. So that is really difficult to watch. The third part is about him in with the social worker / psychologist working for the defense. And she just spends the whole time asking him questions. And the interaction between the two of them is really interesting because you see she's trying to help him, and she's trying to get information. He doesn't trust her, but then he likes her because she's paying attention to him. And it's fascinating to watch what he says about himself, his life, social media. And when she starts asking him sexual questions about, do you have a thing for girls and stuff like that? This is where he starts giving his defense essentially too, even though he didn't do it, giving his defense, saying that the girl that was killed, she was popular apparently. And he says, I'm ugly. He feels he's unpopular. He's been bullied for being not cool. He's kind of a scrawny kid. And so apparently the girl sends some naked pictures, chest up, to some boy she likes. And that boy, who's a scumbag, shared them with the school. So there we have this problem of the sexting stuff that's out of control, teenagers. And so now her breasts are all over the school. And he's like, oh, he's enjoying that. Although he says she's kind of flat, so she's not that great. So while she's in this in this turmoil of having been exposed in that way, he thinks this is an opportune time that maybe she'll give him a break. So he goes and asks her, supposedly, this is all his story, if she wants to go someplace with him, hang out with him. And she, according to him, says, which we'll never know because you never know what the victim's actual words are unless it's tape recorded. So he could be lying like a dog. She says, I'm not that desperate. And that's supposedly what sets off his rage and why he kills her. Now, Are we blaming the victim here? Well, he's definitely blaming the victim. But as we watch this, do we kind of go, maybe that's true? And maybe we can understand why this kid who's maybe not being treated well by his classmates, because I'm seeing it, I'm looking at that classroom going, oh my God, this place is horrible. And these kids are horrible. And so if you're a kid who can't stand up to that, and you're every single day of your life, it's like Chinese water torture treatment on your head. You're ugly, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, and you're miserable all the freaking time. And you're trying, you think you have to date young because, remember, this is all, the sex stuff is getting really into the elementary schools. So boys think they should be getting sex from girls. And if they don't get sex from girls, they're called an incel, like they're a big fat failure at the age of 13. When at 13, I didn't even know what kissing was. I mean, these things weren't happening when I was growing up. Well, they were happening, but not at the rate. And being so publicized by the other children, everybody talking about it blatantly because they're all watching R-rated films and looking at porn at a young age. So can we understand why he could become enraged, live in that system? And that girl really did say that to him. He's finally, that just set him off. Is it possible? He's just so angry that girls treat him like dirt. Sure, it's possible. Does it give him the right to murder? No, of course not. Is he a psychopath? Maybe, but we just don't know. So that's the third section. The fourth part shows the family, the father, the mother, and the older sister. And the way they did it was so amazing, because one of the things you often look for is that the family's a mess, which is why he'd be a mess. But that's not what you see over here. You see a loving couple. I wish I'd had as good a marriage as they appeared to have. They seem to really care about each other a lot, and really care what each other wants to do and how, just about their feelings. They took care of each other. They were a sweet couple, and they seemed to be good parents. The older daughter was wonderful. She was a great older daughter. And so he's like, this is dad now falling apart, because he ends up at the end of the film, he's going into the kid's room and his name is on the door, and he opens it up and he's got drawings on the wall, and his little bear is on the bed. And he just looking around and he's like, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I did wrong. And the parents spend some time talking to each other like, what did we do? What did we do wrong? We weren't perfect. We know that. But what did we do wrong? So the small things we did wrong enough to cause this? And you just see him collapse at the end on the bed of his son. So I've told you what's in the movie, the series. But the reason I did is because it's not like there's anything secret here. But to watch the whole process in each one of these episodes, to see how you feel about each one of them, the police part, the school part, the psychologist part, and the family part. It's brilliant. And maybe a lot of people don't have the patience for it, but I was blown away. And anybody who knows me knows I'm really blown away, but especially anything to do with crime. Because I'm conflicted myself about what happened in this particular crime. Because I do see that, we cannot have a society let's put this way, when a society starts breaking down and people mistreat each other on a very, very serious basis, where families are falling apart, and this family wasn't falling apart, but the school was falling apart, the society around them was falling apart, social media was destroying everything, because social media was becoming the parents and the friends of these children, and they cannot handle it. I think it's a nightmare. That social media is a nightmare, and so is the internet in general, and so are the movies and all that stuff. I'm not saying I don't. Obviously, I'm here on YouTube, and I use TikTok, and I don't use TikTok. I enjoy TikTok, and I have Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts. I have those things as an adult, but yeah, I even see some adults having their lives destroyed by their overuse and wrong use of the internet, and being bullied by people on the internet. They don't even know these people, and yet they're allowing those people to get into their brain and mess with them. And even for me, I get a tremendous amount of hate stuff. And people say, "Oh, Pat, you're great. You don't have to listen to them." Look, I've been in television and internet, television and YouTube now for over 2 decades. Believe me, I've been around long enough to be able to handle it. But it's still not pleasant to see, and it's still sometimes it's just so cruel. And I'm used to it and I can accept it because, as I say, if you can't handle it, you get out of the kitchen type thing. And if I'm going to be on, on YouTube like this, I have to accept it. But children are not ready for that. Adolescents aren't ready to have them be told that they're ugly, that they're stupid, that nobody wants them. They can't handle all that, all behind their parents' back, so the parents don't even know what's going on. It's just so egregious that we need to step up to the plate. The schools need to step up. The parents need to step up. We all need to step up as societies around the globe, because we're throwing our children to the wolves, or we're just making an island, that island, and we're putting our kids on that island, and we're letting them destroy each other, and we're standing by and letting it happen. And we need to stop doing that. This is a great show. All I want to say one more time, go watch it. Again, and if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe so my channel can remain on internet. Anyway, thank you for being here, everybody. Watch it.